Hey, good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm going to jump right into today's devotion. Um, Entitled this one, Stay Focused. It was one of the latter points of Brother Jody's message on Sunday, which was just a wonderful, wonderful message that the Lord sent our way through Brother Jody. And so thankful for him and what he does and his obedience on Sunday to give us what the Lord had given him. So he was preaching out of Luke and 7, and I don't want to do a lot of reading, but give a little background here on this. On the latter part, he's talking about the woman who came in and anointed Jesus' feet. But in Luke 7 and verse 36, it says, one of the Pharisees desired him that he would come, that he would eat with him. And he went to the Pharisee's house, sat down to meat, and behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at meat at the Pharisee's house, brought an alabaster box of ointment, stood at the feet, stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe with the hairs of her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now when the Pharisees which had bidden him saw it, they spake within himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, would have known what manner of woman that is that toucheth him, for she is a sinner. So you got to remember who's at the dinner here. So you have Jesus with the Pharisees. The Pharisees were the distinguished, the lawmakers, the educated, um, and so and also the opponents of Jesus, if you will, especially as he continues on in his ministry. They were always looking to catch him, and we see that even here. If he were a prophet, he would have known who he was dealing with. And of course, you could counter that with if they knew who Jesus was, then they would knew exactly that this was a person that Jesus was looking for, the sinners that were lost. It says, and Jesus answered and said unto Simon, I have somewhat to say unto thee. In other words, I've got a problem, or you've got a problem. Let's address that. And he say, Master, say on. So again, Simon, playing the part, realizing, giving Jesus the title of Master. He said there was a certain creditor who had two debtors. One owed 500 pence and the other 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou hast rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, Seest thou this woman? I entered into thine house. Thou gavest me no water for my feet, and thou hast washed and she has washed my feet with tears, and wiped them with the hairs of her head. Thou gavest me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, hath not ceased to kiss my feet. My head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman hath anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto thee, her sins, which are many, are forgiven. For she loveth much, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loveth little. And he said unto her, Thy sins are forgiven. And so the point which Jody made is that Simon had lost focus. Simon had gotten to the business of entertaining. Simon was got to the point to setting a standard. It was his house where all the dignitaries were at. It was his house where the the dinner was taking place. It is his house where Jesus has come to have dinner. And so, in the process of playing the part, in the process of, you know, entertaining, um, he forgot what was really before him. He lost focus on what mattered the most, of what was of the most value. For him, it was the possessions. For him, it was, you know, his status. For him, it was his status amongst his peers. Um, and all these things he had forsaken simply because Jesus was in his house. And instead of taking the advantage of worshiping him, he had done none of those things that a good host would do. But yet, this woman, who was, as they put it, a sinner, um, had continued to, worship Jesus and, focused only on him the entire time. And she wasn't even invited. So, so many things that can be brought from this. But I look at this here and I thought the next point that Jody brought out was, what are we going to leave behind? And I thought about it, how many times that we've been in the presence of Jesus, but not focused on the main thing. You know, and it spoke to me. What do my boys, even though they're two grown men now, but what do they see in Dad? Um, what does my peers see in me? Um, and so many times we get focused on being a good host and, whatever it might be, of entertaining people, of, trying to make people be comfortable or whatever else. But, to me, it spoke that Jesus dwells in us as Christians. And so the greatest thing that we can give, the greatest value that we have is what lives inside of us, not where we live, what we have around us or anything else, not status, not popularity or anything. The greatest value we have is within us. And so therefore that should be the greatest thing that we show to everyone that we meet. So I pray you got something out of this, that we stay focused. Don't be a Simon. Don't lose focus. Focus on God's word, who he is, and let that be the only message. If we're showing them Jesus, we're going to show them love. If we're showing them Jesus, we're going to be a good host. If we're showing them Jesus, we're going to be that friend that sticks closer than a brother. So, good point. Love that from the sermon. Don't be a Simon. Don't lose focus. So, God bless. Love you guys.